Imagine a single book published way back over a century ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it just ignites these fierce debates, completely changes how a nation thinks about literature, about society.
That's quite an impact.
Exactly. And that book was W.E.B. Du Bois' The Souls of Black Folk. It did precisely that.
It really did. A landmark work.
Yeah, it's this collection of essays, but it's so much more. It gives this incredibly profound look into the lives, the experiences of Black Americans right at the start of the 20th century.
And it blends so many styles, doesn't it? You've got autobiography in there, history, sharp political critique.
Sociology, ethnography, biography, even fiction and eulogy. It's quite a mix.
Someone at the time described its impact as like fireworks going off in a cemetery.
Wow, that paints a picture. And Du Bois himself, he was, 35, a professor of sociology at Atlanta University when it came out?
That's right. Already a prominent voice.
Yeah.
But this book cemented his legacy.
Now, before we really dive into the heart of this incredible book, we wanted to mention our YouTube channel, Mindful Moments. We use AI over there to create analyses of really insightful books, kind of designed to spark your own thinking, encourage that critical reflection, much like we hope to do today with Du Bois' work.
That's a great resource. So, thinking about souls, the absolute core has to be Du Bois' concept of the veil.
The veil, right. Can you unpack that a bit?
Well, it's this powerful metaphor. It's not just, a physical barrier, but it represents the color line, this profound separation between Black and white America.
And this veil, it creates something else he talks about, right? This double consciousness.
Exactly. That's perhaps one of his most famous ideas.
Yeah.
This feeling, this sense that Black individuals experience of always looking at themselves through the eyes of others.
He put it so powerfully. Measuring one's soul by the tape of a world that looks on in amused contempt and pity.
Mm-hmm. It's that constant awareness of how you're perceived by a dominant, often hostile society. Seeing yourself, but also seeing how they see you.
And he mentions that unasked question just sort of hanging in the air between the races.
How does it feel to be a problem?
Yeah. And that white people rarely ask it directly. Maybe they talk around it, mention exceptions or history instead.
It's all a consequence of living behind that veil. And Du Bois really digs into the effects of this throughout the book. A key moment, I think, is Chapter 3.
Of Mr. Booker T. Washington and others. This is where he takes issue with Washington's approach, right?
A very significant critique, yeah.
Yeah.
Washington was emphasizing industrial training, vocational skills, and a more, accommodationist political strategy.
Sort of. Work within the system, prove economic value first.
Essentially, yes. But Du Bois pushed back hard. He argued passionately for the vital importance of higher education, the liberal arts.
For the uplift of the Black population, as he termed it. He saw the need for developing intellectual leaders, thinkers.
Absolutely. It wasn't an either for skills versus intellect, but he felt Washington's focus was too narrow and potentially limiting for true progress and equality.
And he continues exploring life under the veil in other chapters, too. Chapter 4 of The Meaning of Progress.
Yeah, that one's based on his own time teaching in rural Tennessee. It's this really vivid, almost ethnographic portrait of Black rural life, the struggles, but also the strength you find there.
Gives you a real sense of the day-to-day realities.
It does. Then he shifts focus in Chapter 5 of The Wings of Atlanta. He looks at the city, Atlanta, which was growing fast.
But he wasn't just celebrating the growth, was he?
No, not entirely. He issues this warning, this caution against the lust for gold, essentially against letting materialism become the sole focus.
Suggesting that there have to be ideals beyond just economic prosperity, that chasing wealth could overshadow deeper values.
Precisely, which ties back to his emphasis on education and ideals in Chapter 6 of the training of Black men.
Right, he really doubles down there on why higher education is so necessary, developing skilled thinkers.
Yes, and he points out this interesting statistic that 53% of graduates from Negro colleges at the time became teachers.
Wow, over half. That really shows the commitment to education within the community itself, doesn't it? Feeding back into the system.
It absolutely does. And Du Bois adds this personal note, comparing Black college graduates he knew to his peers back in New England or even in Europe.
What did he say?
He found them often more helpful, more devoted to their work, more determined, really, than many he'd studied with elsewhere. A testament to their drive.
That's quite a statement.
It is. And to make his points less abstract, he gets very specific in Chapter 7 of the Black Belt. He focuses on Dougherty County, Georgia.
Using it as a kind of microcosm.
Exactly. A case study to show the immense challenges Black farm laborers were facing in the South, even decades after emancipation.
He talks about debt peonage, the crop lien system,
Yeah.
basically economic traps.
Yes, systems that kept people in a state of near serfdom. He describes the exploitation so clearly, showing how true freedom was still denied through these economic structures.
And there's that incredibly poignant anecdote, the man just whittling a stick.
Oh, yes. It's devastating. The man talks about how it doesn't matter how hard he works, the white landowner gets the benefit.
Wow.
It captures that sense of hopelessness and injustice so starkly.
Just a quiet moment, but it speaks volumes.
It really does. And it's worth noting, actually, Dubois later revised a part of this chapter in subsequent editions.
Oh, what was that about?
In the original 1903 text, there were some references to Jewish merchants and landlords that reflected some prevalent stereotypes of the time. He later acknowledged this, calling it an unconscious condemnation of a whole group.
So she corrected it.
Yes, he clarified his intent was to condemn exploitation, the system itself, not any specific ethnic group. It shows his own intellectual evolution, I think.
That's important context. Then we get towards the end of the book, and the focus shifts again to the sorrow songs.
A beautiful and powerful chapter. He sees these Negro spirituals as the articulate message of the slave to the world.
Not just songs, but profound expressions of suffering, longing.
And hope. Definitely hope. He finds this deep faith in the ultimate justice of things embedded within them despite the pain.
And he uses them structurally throughout the book, doesn't he? Those epigraphs at the start of each chapter.
Yes. Juxtaposing lines of European poetry with bars of these haunting melodies from black souls. It's a brilliant way to elevate the spirituals and frame each chapter's theme.
But he intentionally leaves some lyrics out, right?
He does. And the implication seems to be that there's an inner life and experience within the veil that maybe can't be fully captured or understood just through words alone, especially by the dominant white culture. Some things remain unspoken or sung only within the community.
That adds another layer of meaning. The book also gets deeply personal. Chapter 11 of The Passing of the Firstborn.
Ah, yes. His eulogy for his infant son, Burgart, who died from diphtheria. It's heart-wrenching.
And he connects this immense personal loss to the larger context of Black suffering under the color line.
He presents it as an instance of the broader human sorrow that Black families endured, often exacerbated by the conditions imposed by segregation and racism. It humanizes the statistics and the sociology.
There's also that short story of the coming of John.
Right. A fictional piece that kind of tragically echoes many of the book's themes: education, aspiration, and the brutal limits imposed by society.
And then finally, in the appendix, he reflects on race itself.
Yeah, he discusses the idea of race, the potential contributions of different groups to civilization. He holds this belief that the full, complete Negro message to the world hasn't truly been given yet.
And that it can only emerge from Black people themselves.
Yes, through the development of Black genius, Black spirit, united by a common ideal. It's a call for self-realization and collective purpose.
What stands out, I think, is how Dubois balances the critique of oppression with this consistent highlighting of resilience, of culture, of intellectual strength within the Black community.
Absolutely. It's not just a catalog of wrongs. It's also an affirmation of the souls, the humanity, the potential behind the veil.
Which is why the souls of Black folks still feels so vital, so relevant today for understanding race, identity, history in America. Its impact was just immense.
Undeniably. On scholarship, on activism, on literature. It shifted the conversation in fundamental ways.
Well, we really hope this discussion has given you a deeper appreciation for this foundational work. And remember, for more analyses like this, you can check out our other explorations and also our YouTube channel, Mindful Moments.
It uses AI to offer some fresh takes on classic books. Definitely worth a look. It really is striking how Dubois' insights from, 1903 still resonate with challenges we face now.
It absolutely does. So if you found this valuable, please do subscribe to our podcasts for more discussions like this one.
And maybe share with someone you think would find it interesting.
Yes. And if you want to experience Dubois' words firsthand, consider getting a copy of The Souls of Black Folk. We'll put a link in the show notes. But most importantly,
keep thinking.
Keep thinking critically about these ideas, about the past, the present, and the world around you.